thanks everyone once again for being with us tonight. Hello from Berlin. My name is Josef Lentsch. I'm the founder and CEO of Partisan, the community of political professionals. It's great to have with us tonight Michael Birkebæk Jensen and Kristian Thorsted Madsen from DemAI. They will tonight present their product or their platform, PAL8. They will tell you a little bit about DemAI, about themselves, so they will introduce themselves. I won't be saying much right now. We have an hour, so the plan would be that Michael and Kristian present PAL8. You can ask questions, as I said, in the chat or in the Q&A down below, but we definitely will have time at the end for questions, comments, and thoughts. Kristian and Michael will take about 15 to 20 minutes to demo the, as they promised, very, very latest version that is work in progress. So it's very, very exciting to be here tonight. With that, let's wish us all a great webinar and a great demo. Michael and Kristian, over to you, and once again, a warm welcome.
Thank you very much, Joseph. I will go ahead and share my screen and just check if it's shared. It seems to be shared. Awesome. So maybe just to start out with just a very big thank you to Joseph and the Partisan team for having us. So what we will be talking to you about this evening is DemAI and PAL8, and the focus will be on PAL8. Our tool, which is now in open beta. And for us, this is a little bit exciting because you are the first ones outside of our immediate friends and family who get to see it and try it out, which is always a little bit, that's a little bit exciting. So we are very happy to be here. First, just want to introduce ourselves. So my name is Michael. And I'm joined by my co-founder Kristian. So Kristian and myself, we met each other 17 years ago now, actually in Accenture, which is a technology consultancy, and we were sort of young analysts together in the technology strategy group. And when you are sort of in the bottom of one of these consultancies, you get all the bad tasks at the bad time. So basically meaning that you get to spend a lot of hours together in the office, and we became friends. And I think maybe it also is due to that we have a similar interest for technology. So maybe just briefly about me. My name is Michael, and I stayed in consulting. So first 8 years in Accenture, 8 years in KPMG, made partner. And ended up heading up sustainability, machine learning and quantum, and internal software development. And what really interests me is sort of a triangle of technology, business development, and then also societal sustainability. So once I can work on those three, then I'm happy. And Kristian, do you want to introduce yourself?
So my name is Kristian. Compared to Michael, I actually started my career very much in even more in tech, since I studied computer science. So I was happily studying things like artificial life and such at university, and always also enjoyed being creative with computers. Been with Accenture also 6 years in the start of the career. A bit in the financial sector also, trying to do technological turnarounds on large organizations. But as Michael said, at the same time, we've been ramping up this because, it's such powerful tools we see nowadays, and it's such a shame if you don't use it to actually do something good for the society we live in.
Exactly. So that is basically what we realized back in 2018. Back then we could see, okay, AI has tremendous potential for society, but also both for good and for bad. And I think what we realized is that this technology would create a change in society. And if you are part of creating that change, you also need to be part of making sure that it happens in the best possible way. So we started an NGO because we could see AI putting pressure on democracy, and that's not good when you, as we do, view democracy as sort of the operating system of society. Then you need to make sure that that runs as good as possible. So we started a small NGO, Next Generation Democracy, where we've put focus on how is it that we can use AI for the betterment of democracy. We did a lot of events, and we also did technology, and I think it was all very cool. But we could also see that to really move things, we needed to go full time, and we did that in the beginning of the year when we started DemAI. And we've tried to run this as sort of a new approach to business. So instead of building a huge organization, we are actually looking to build a small organization and instead leverage technology to make as much impact as possible, and then be very mission driven. So that's basically what you saw on the first slide, to use technology to develop and defend democracy. Luckily, that makes people want to work with us. So we have a group of volunteers we would like more, and then we would like to work with the bigger community. And sort of business model wise, we are building an impact business inspired by Patagonia. So this whole idea of, if we can be the Patagonia of AI for democracy, then that would be great. So, strengthening democracy while also building a sustainable business model. That's the whole purpose. And we are not doing it alone. We have volunteers. I think we have more than 10 people, but all of them very, very skilled, doing everything from development to media outreach, sales. We have an advisory board that is helping us out. So thank you very much to them. And we also have academic partners from the Roskilde University and the IT University here in Copenhagen. So trying to collaborate to build impact. Okay, just very quickly, why is it that we are doing this? Is because democracy is under pressure. I'm probably preaching to the choir here with people who are as deeply into the subject as you guys, but just to, not everybody knows that actually democracy is under pressure. So just briefly, both if you look at Freedom House or the Economist Intelligence Unit, we are now at sort of the 19th year of global decline of democracy. And it's not only a global thing, it's actually also a thing here in Europe. And it's also a thing here in Denmark, where we are from, that we are seeing that the trust in the system is declining, and people find the democratic systems opaque, and it's difficult to interact with them, etc., etc. And democracy is one of those things that if it doesn't work, we believe that we aren't able to solve all the other societal issues that we are facing, from the environment to social challenges, etc. And we are technologists at heart, and we believe positively about technology. But right now, technology doesn't really seem to be helping democracy, and it should. And that is then why we developed or started DemAI as an AI for democracy lab to build intelligent solutions that develop and defend democracy. Okay, that was sort of the lead in. What we are here to talk to you guys about today is the first piece of, we call it democracy technology, so DemTech. So this is our first piece of democracy technology. We call it PARL 8, and the number 8 is for aid, so helping the parliament. It's a transparency platform for citizens and professionals to get insights into democratic processes. What we've started with is the European Parliament. Why? It's because that here in Europe, it's one of these. It's a system that has enormous potential, that is already influencing to a high degree what is happening in the individual member states, in the individual countries. But many times, both for ourselves and with many people we talk to, the European Parliament and the EU seems very far away. And that's too bad, because a lot of good work is being done. But when you don't know what's happening, then people are many times, if something is wrong, they point the finger At least that's what we are seeing in Denmark. If something is wrong, then they point the finger at the EU. It must be them because we don't know what we are doing. That they are the cause of the issue. So we decided to try to do something about that. What is also nice with the EU is that there's a lot of data. And basically what we are doing here is that we're starting with providing insights into plenary summaries, enabling you guys to search into what is being said and done in the parliament. We are doing profiles on the politicians, so you can see what they're working on. You can also see who they're meeting with and their own interests. And then we're also doing a bit of analysis of lobbying, so that you can follow along how are various organizations meeting with the politicians and trying to influence their work. And then last but not least, we're also doing these personal alerts, so that if you are interested in any given topic, then we are setting up sort of these small AI agents to help you monitor that topic or that person. And if we look further ahead, we are diving deeper into the EU, so into the development of laws, etc. And also we are also diving into individual countries and municipalities. So the whole idea is making the EU more transparent. And we also have a couple of different membership styles. So our belief is that it's the citizens that we want to enhance. So we have the majority of the platform is free for citizens. Then because some of this stuff is expensive to run computationally, then we have created a Citizen Plus profile where you can get a little bit more AI functionality, and a Pro profile for more advanced functionality. And this is mostly enhanced AI and analytics and agentic functionality that is sort of added on. And then we've also created an enterprise version. But and then when I talk about enterprise, we are building features to cater for citizens and for journalists. That's our initial focus. And currently we're in open beta. So you are basically the first ones who gets to see this open beta platform that we would like to show you right now. So I will stop sharing and give the word over to Kristian, who will show you the latest version of Parl 8. And you are still on mute, Kristian, just for...
Thank you. That's a very traditional thing to do.
Exactly.
So you're getting it fresh from the development. Just a moment. So as Michael said, this is the solution. So just to show it from scratch. So we have a landing page, and we require people to sign in, because even though we offer a lot of this for free, it is also pulling a lot of AI requests. So if a lot of happy bots starts pulling it, then it's not easy to be a startup. So let's try to sign in here. So we have some different features, and let's start with this summary page. So every day, the EU is producing somewhere in between 200 to 300 pages of transcript every time the parliament is meeting for a session, and every single politician is speaking in their own language. So a very simple use case we just started in order to create transparency is to say that, okay, nobody actually has time for that, but what if we took it and boiled it down to like a simple human language summary that can then be consumed by many. So this is all of the sessions since last year. So this parliamentary session that we have done that with. And here you can see like what are some of the topics that has been discussed, what's roughly the content summarized as a headline, and then you have different elements down here. So yeah, citizens push for regional cohesion, motion of censure to the Commission. I don't know if it's so exciting this day. Boosting EU biotechnology. Yeah? If there's some of this stuff you're very interested in, you can click chat about the summary, then we are logging to this day, and then you can, through chat, search into like what has politicians actually been discussing, for instance, about boosting EU biotechnologies. You can also share it if you'd like. So ideally, if those of us that enjoy politics once in a while want to push it out to the world, so you can push it through normal media, and you can also download for Instagram. That is the slightly younger generation. You get a beautiful shareable thing that we are still optimizing a bit. Good. So that's the summaries. It's a bit static because it's trying to create like a neutral and but yet approachable summary of what's actually happening in a day in EU. Then we have the more interesting thing over here, the chat. So whenever we pass all of these speeches that all of the politicians has been doing, we also translate them to English, and then we upload them to a database called a vector database. So that means that everything that all politicians have been saying since summer last year, we can actually search for that. So for instance, we can choose models. We're trying to make it more human language, but right now we have OpenAI and we have the French Mistral, so you can choose. You have to choose some of the bigger ones. So for instance, we could be interested in, we have this politician, MEP called Villy Søvndal, and as you might know, US and Denmark have had some issues around Greenland. So it could be interesting to see what's the Danish politician saying about that. So we're trying to do that here, and you can write anything in this. As long as it's about the parliament, you can write anything. So now we're doing a search into all that this politician has been saying. It looks a bit technical. So it's it's called an agentic flow that's running behind. So it's literally going in and saying, what are you asking about? Do I need to search in votes? Do I need to search in transcripts? Here it said it needed to search in transcripts, and then it's searching for Villy Søvndal and Trump here. So you can see here, he has been quite critical about Donald Trump in EU parliamentary debates. He expressed deep concern over US leadership. He mentioned Greenland, so on and so forth. If we're very interested in this statement about Villy, we can see that his name is Villy. He is in this party, and it was actually said in a speech on the 21st of January. So we can click here, and then we have a link to EU TV. So we can see him saying what we just said that he said in the summary. So we can go straight in and actually stream at the right time. So now this lady is leaving, and we have Villy Søvndal that's coming on board. Yeah, so here. So then you can hear the speech if you want to. Good. Besides that, we are also trying to work a bit with legislation and voting. This is still a bit work in progress. So we have all of the voting mapped up. We're working a bit on the legislation module because it's also very interesting to see everything in context. So that's a bit in progress. Then we have all of the different parliamentarians. And we can try, since we have a few Germans on the line, we can try a German politician. We can try Angelika here. So for each politician, we have just gathered the open data from EU around what is the profile. So where they're from, birth date, how to contact them. This is all open, so we haven't been scraping things we are not supposed to. But since we have all of the speeches of all of the politicians, it's also very easy to create a profile of one politician, literally by summarizing what has that politician been saying in parliament, because what you say should matter somehow in this world. So we have done a summary of each politician, where you can also see some of the speeches here. We have also created a simple word clouds, and I can see I still have to remove a few clutter things like colleagues, but so you can get an impression of what is this person standing for. We also have a lot of the other basic information like committees, CV, contact information, and then we have declarations. So when you're in the parliament, actually in most countries, but also in EU, you have to declare outside interests. Usually outside interest is declared through a lot of very detailed PDF files, where you're saying, like, for instance, if you're having jobs outside, how much you're earning, what's your responsibilities, so on and so forth. For this politician, it's in German, and if it's a Greek politician, it's probably in Greek. So it's not always so accessible, and not everybody have time to read through a lot of PDFs when you are getting an impression of a politician. So we're letting an AI do that as a transparency analyst, and then we're creating this declaration. And we're very, very cautious around not judging anybody. So we try to pull up like interesting data points for observation. We're not saying anything is right or wrong, but we can just see that, for instance, Angelika here has quite a number of paid roles outside of parliaments, legal, of course, paid roles. We can also see, so she's having a high outside income from legal roles. She also has paid roles in insurance and technical certification, which of course is sectors that is EU regulated. She has many leadership roles, so she's a very proactive person. But that's probably also time commitment in that. So we're not saying anything is wrong. We're just saying that's interesting things to be curious about this politician, besides, of course, the work he or she is doing. If we look in meetings, then in the EU, all meetings with outside organizations and individuals have to be recorded when you're a politician. So it usually ends up like in large lists like this. So this is all of Angelika's meetings over the past year. So for instance, she's been meeting with BMW around Omnibus. So it's very interesting to have that kind of open data. You can also see which committee it's about. So we try to actually work a bit with that over in our lobbying view, or network, you could also say view. So here we have summarized all of these meetings. So when you look at the EU Transparency Index, then you can see that there's almost 27,000 organizations that are meeting with EU politicians. Right here, we only have around 640. It's because we're counting the MEPs that are actually meeting with people. So there's some that are a bit inactive for various reasons. And then we have registered 35,000 meetings. So if we look down the statistics of that, we can see there's some very active politicians. But we can also see that, for instance, the European Trade Union Confederation is the one that has most meetings. That's not so surprising because it's an umbrella organization for a lot of industry organizations. But we can also see from a European perspective, interestingly, that Apple, for instance, is number 4 in terms of activity, Meta is number 5, and Google is number 6. We can also see American Chamber of Commerce is here, and that the Fuels Europe and Philip Morris is here together with some climate action networks. So yeah, interesting. If we want to dive a bit more into it, we have created this network visualization. So here we can expand. This is the top 10 I showed you just before. So here we're trying to expand it with some of their contacts. So the lines here is the committees they have been meeting about. So this is the ITRA, Industry, Research and Energy Committee. If we're interested in some of the politicians, we could take Andrea here. We can click her. And then you see, and we're still working a bit with the numbers here, so very early. We can see her meetings. We can also see the top organizations she has been meeting with. So how many meetings she has been having with different. And we even have like a little network analysis also of her down here. If back in the network, you're very interested in, for instance, one of the committees, it could be the development, for instance, then as a pro user, you can sort on that. So this is kind of the cluster of the most active politicians and organizations around development. You can also do time ranges like last 30 days, this quarter, and so on and so forth as pro user. Of course, also in organizations and MEPs or members of parliament, you can also do this kind of sorting and date ranging, so you can easily get to different groups. A last thing that we've been working on is that one thing is that you can use it as a research tool to browse around, but I think for many people it's kind of nice also to be able to get some a bit of input once in a while. So you can choose to follow politicians and subscribe to get updates when they have been doing a really good speech in Parliament, for instance. Then we do like daily runs. You can also follow organizations to get like monthly summaries of activity. And if you really like the summaries, you can subscribe to the summaries either on a daily basis, so like whenever there's a new day in Parliament, you get a summary by the end of the day, or weekly or monthly summaries. We're working a bit also in creating different styles of summaries for pro users. If you want like a more detailed, or if you want to focus on a specific topic. So if you're only interested in agriculture, it's probably nice only to get a notification when you're getting that. Finally, as a thing, so we are wanting to, finally as a thing, you can choose between different models. So if you want like bigger thinking models that produce perhaps more eloquent text, if you're journalists, you can choose that. So this is mid plus large. We're also working with different styles. So there's a balance. That's kind of the standard approach, but perhaps you want concise because perhaps you want detailed. Perhaps you want like very a high amount of what you call citations. Then we are starting to work with what's actually the interesting patterns to have here. Yeah, and again, as Michael said, so what we are thinking is, first of all, that it's free for citizens. So everybody should have access to this kind of information. So both chatting and browsing around. We also believe that some of us, perhaps some of us in this call, are a bit more passionate citizens than others about what's happening in the EU. So we want to, for instance, create unlimited chats and ability to, for instance, subscribe to a lot of different members of parliament, make that accessible for many. And then we also believe that there's some people that is making a living from, for instance, reporting on the EU. And a number of those would need more advanced tools. It could be the filtering, it could be network analysis and such. So we are working also on creating a professional subscription where we are optimizing towards that kind of tools. And as Michael said, the first we're optimizing towards is journalists. But you know, if you create a solution that's good for journalists, it's probably also good for NGOs, small businesses, politicians themselves, for instance. So yeah, so that's the solution so far. Did I miss anything, Michael?
No, I think it's, I was just checking that you would say something about the alerts and subscriptions, and you did. So I'm a happy camper.
You can, of course, unsubscribe also from them if you don't like a lot of things in your mailbox, obviously.
Makes sense. Should I just share? Because I think what we have next is just one or two more slides here. So we did a demo. That's here. Thank you, Kristian. Then just for those of you who are still around with us here and or who see the video here afterwards, 3 things that we are asking of you guys. First of all, you know, so this is a product that, as you can see, is new, or service that is new. We would love your feedback, because so we are building it for you guys, basically. So please share your feedback. There is a button in Parlate up in the top that you can just press and leave your feedback. So it's the one with the little light bulb, I guess. And you know, you're also very welcome just to send us an email or a direct message on LinkedIn, or what you prefer, to share your insights. We're also happy to jump on a call with you. So that's the first thing. Please share your feedback, good ideas, etc. Then secondly, right now this is being funded by Kristian and myself and our savings, and that will only last us for so long. So if you have pointers towards relevant philanthropic venture capital firms, foundations, or other good ideas, that would be appreciated. And then last but not least, if you know other people who would be interested in this type of work or the tool itself, please do also share Parlate with your network, so that we can, for us, it's a lot about, getting as much, creating as much impact as possible. And to do that, we need people to actually use the tool and, help us say, please build this feature to make it even better. And with that, we have a Q&A.
Fantastic. Thanks both. So you already have the first feedback from Roxana. Thank you very much for that. Thanks for using the chat. At this point, let me remind you once again that the chat is open, but also that you can post questions into the Q&A. It's on down below, that you can post your questions. I have actually quite a few questions, so let me break the ice. Thanks so much for the presentation. I think it looks terrific. First of all, in terms of the objectives, I guess you already said it, right? You have kind of an impact motive for this, but also you want to have this as a financial sustainable model. So can you share a little bit, what do you define as success? So in terms of the difference that you want to make with Parlate as a tool, when would you say this has an impact, this makes a difference, this is successful with what you're trying to do?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I think that, I think when we started, we were dreaming that, we want to build a tool that can help every, there's about 460 million people in Europe. I realized that not all of them are old enough to really care about democratic processes. So I think, and this, it sounds a little bit crazy, but I think when we were dreaming in the beginning here, we were saying, if we can help 400 million people get better insights into what's going on in the democratic processes that influence them, then that would be the goal. And getting to 400 million is will take some time. So I would almost say, I think, for us, we are sort of taking the elephant in bites here, right? So I think what we are discussing today is once we have our first paying customers, we will drink a glass of champagne, right? So it's all the way from the first user to 400 million users. This is probably an unsharp answer. Does it make sense?
And just supplementing quickly, Michael,
Yeah,
also, I think we also try to create impact on several levels. So one thing is citizens, where we are also targeting youth organizations, for instance, and trying to onboard them in it. But another thing is like some of the professional users, if we enable them and empower them, that's actually also strengthening democracy and democratic processes. So if we can make people working inside the European Union being more effective, or the politicians be better at finding collaboration partners, for instance, or if we can make journalists be better at reporting, that's having a network effect. That's very good also. So yeah, we haven't set a specific number yet. Besides,
thank you. So if I heard Michael right before, it's your chance to get a free glass of champagne if you decide to actually become the first paying user tonight. So you can really. So can you already pay for that? Is up and running the module for getting signed up and paying?
You can pay for the Pro now, and I'm just sitting compiling the last code, so I can push it within the next 10 minutes. So you can also pay for the Citizen Plus.
Very good. So in 10 minutes, you can get your glass of champagne straight from Denmark, which is fantastic. We have a question from Bettina here. Thank you very much. Now, you will for sure address people and companies that are interested in politics, right? And you, Michael, already mentioned the preaching to the choir. So of course, there is the case for people who are already either professionally or personally heavily invested in politics. such a tool. How do you envisage getting it to the people or in front of the people that normally are not that engaged in politics, and if you make it easier for people? So how do you envisage that going?
So I think that's a super good question, and it's also one of those where it's one thing is the tech side of this. But I think that, and now this is very easy for me since Kristian is doing the majority of the work, right? But a hard part of this project also is going to be the people side. So how do we actually get people to care and get them to use it? So our first initial thoughts here is, for example, we are starting to collaborate with youth organizations, because that's one of the groups that we are personally most sort of aware of. There was some sort of disheartening numbers. I was reading an article in the Guardian a couple of months ago saying that the youth is believing less and less in democracy, which is not positive for us less young people. So we are super interested in the youth, and what we are trying to do there is collaborate with youth organizations, and there's actually both two things in that. One thing is to actually hit a way of our, so as you can see, Kristian mentioned, all of this is AI powered, but how should the AI speak? One thing is, how we're speaking, but as if you are 16 years old, you would probably like to have it talk to you in a different manner. But being 43 years old, it's hard to imagine how that is. So trying to actually collaborate with youth groups and co-create the right tone of voice and format with them. And what is super interesting is that when we're then speaking to these guys, we were saying, how would you like to use the portal here or the platform? And nobody logs into that. No, okay, but how would you then like to receive the email? Yeah, but nobody reads emails. Like, okay, but how do you actually then get information? No, but we get the news from Instagram, and I don't even have an account, right? Which is problematic. So what we're also working on together with them is actually building, that our platform outputs Instagram stories that people will actually want to read. So that's the kind of stuff, and we're also seeing, can we work with teachers to have to get it as a tool in schools, that kind of thing. That was
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. We have two great questions from the audience. One relates to the former from Adam. Of course, again, I think we could see experienced people in lobbying in public affairs making good use of the tool. Do you see this also as an inroad for newbies in lobbying who want to understand kind of, how do I get into this? How does the process work? As you said, the network mapping and so on, to understand the power structures. Do you see this as an inroad also for people who want to understand how lobbying works and actually want to get in the field? And the second question is from Roxana. That's actually a very good question. I would also would have asked if you wouldn't have put it on there already, which is, of course, you're dealing with very important content here where the accuracy is super critical. So now, of course, there are lots of stories about hallucinations of AI models, and you said you had OpenAI and Mistral, who had two in there. How do you actually prevent or manage those hallucinations? How do you make sure that the information is accurate? Kristian, perhaps the second question to you.
Sure. So we have some different things. First of all, we have put, of course, as all sensible AI solutions should have, we put a number of guardrails on the user input. So you can't generate a piece of fabricated, trick it to generate a piece of fabricated content. That's always a dangerous thing to say because hackers are very, very creative people. But we have guardrails set up, and we have some of the industry good practice and best practice guardrails set up for that. When we then get into the actual content creation, I think the hallucination is less of a problem with what we are working on here, because we are taking very large sums of data and we are boiling it down. So a bigger problem is actually the risk of overgeneralization that we're working continuously on trying to avoid. So like when you go from large to small, it's less of a problem. However, we're doing two things to actually address that anyway, just to make sure. So first of all, we're doing an agentic flow. So we have a number of AI agents that's working together as a team when you're asking it a question. So there's a guard at front saying, are you allowed to pass yes, no, with that question? And then we have like a number of planners and qualifier agents that's in a string, trying to validate both what you're asking, but actually also the different results that we are retrieving from our databases, and then the final results up against that data. So by having these validations and these continuous checks down through that chain, and even a final validation where we're saying, did we actually answer the question? Like two things: did we answer the question of the user? If not, then we should say I can't answer. And secondly, do the answers that are created actually is it consistent with all of the speeches that are retrieved? And if it's not, again, I should reject it. So we're putting a number of checks in place in order to avoid, like, increase accuracy and avoid some of these patterns. It can never be 100% foolproof, but you can get a very, very high accuracy.
We
Thanks,
try
Kristian.
all the time to flag that it is, when there's AI generating stuff, it says that there's AI generating stuff, to make it very transparent. Yeah.
And I think that's also one of the reasons we are so focusing so much on the deep linking to the actual sources. So it's summaries to help you navigate, and then you can actually get source material. Mm-hmm.
And now this is embarrassing. I forgot the first part of the question. What was that again, Josef?
Oh, the first question was about is it not just a tool for pros, for lobbying professionals in public affairs, but can it also be an inroad for people who want to get involved or want to understand how lobbying works? And Adam actually also asked a second question, which is about have you had any success in getting useful data from the council? Which is, I guess, less transparent than other institutions.
Check. Let me take the first part, and that's exactly what we would like to do here, because what you're saying is that is this an inroad for more people? Our thought is that it would be awesome if the general public can get access to this to the same quality tools that the professionals have, basically. So that's part of the mission here, trying to democratize access to advanced tools to help you engage. So yes, that's the idea, and that's also why we're trying to keep the cost relatively low, so individuals and small businesses can also use.
Thank you. Can I jump in here, Michael?
Yeah.
So have you looked, if you speak about professional tools, did you do some landscaping when you developed PAL8? So did you look at the tools that are out there, and that also cost sometimes much more, and did you try to position? Did you try to find your USP? All that kind of business planning things that entrepreneurs also do. Did you go through that, and what did you see?
Yeah, so we absolutely did. I think what we saw is that yes, there are a lot of tools. Actually, there's a well-established market for tools for example, lobbyists and public affairs. So we looked at that, and then we tried to see, okay, how can we also make this more easily available for the average, or not average user, than the individual citizen, because the individual citizen don't need, probably, at least that is our assumption, do not need a lot of databases and deep links down to individual laws. At least that's I think what we are seeing is that it needs to be more easily accessible, and so we are also thinking, how can we actually make this fun? which is so those are more of what we are looking at to be unique selling points, that if we can make this in a way that the normal person will actually find it interesting to use, and it's a quality that you can use it in a school paper, then we are happy, and then we do not need to build a lot more analytical tools down on it as a lobbyist would probably need.
Thank you. And Adam's other question was, have you been able to integrate or pull data from the council, and would that be available via the platform as well?
So do you want to address that, Kristian? And you're on mute, yeah.
Yeah. So I think the next thing we're focusing on will actually be the whole legislative train, which is exactly initiated by the council and then dripping down through a number of processing in the parliament. So I think we'll try to focus on that more than just the council sessions to start with. So to keep a lot of focus on the parliament in the broad solution, and then try to dive down at least the legislative process, and also things like change requests to piece of legislation are actually quite transparent. We have been working with that before. The actual council sessions and settings, as you say, is a bit less transparent. But we will use what we can find, so to speak. And usually you can actually create really interesting perspectives on that.
And here I would maybe also just say that there's most likely people on this call who will have a good idea of maybe who actually have a better answer to that question than we have. So there I would also say, if you're saying, why aren't these guys including this data? That would be super powerful. Then please reach out to us, and we are happy to discuss how we can do that and make it available for everybody.
Thank you. We actually have quite some substantial contributions also in the chat. First of all, from ORL, coming back to this issue of landscaping, can you name some main competitors, or who you see as your direct competition? Are there any tools or platforms that you can name where you say, this is something we see ourselves in one way or the other in competition with? And then Alex Scales from the Westminster Foundation for Democracy is also with us. He'd be interested to learn more about the additional verification and accuracy measures that you're taking to support the quality of information. I think, Kristian, you already touched on that, right? And then finally, Tu Schmidt is also with us. Hello to Berlin. I think it's really cool you're trying to involve youth groups. Maybe I missed it in the demo, but are you planning to have a general knowledge education session? How parties, people get voted in the EU Parliament? What exactly is lobbyism? So is there any education or a training kind of intro, module, or can you link perhaps to something I think that might be out there somewhere else, and you might be able to refer to that? So can you say something about the competition? And can you also say something about the kind of the educational context that you're putting your tool in as well?
And those are great questions. So I don't want to name competitors, but we have been looking at, and there are university projects out there. We are also seeing there's also the tools that are built more for lobbyists, and then there is also to some extent the EU's own website. You could also or websites. You could also see as competitors. So yep, we have been looking into that and are trying to decide on, okay, how do we add something that is unique right now? And then you're
just a quick supplement to that also, Mike.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think our core strategy is different from a lot. If you look at the lobbying segment, our core strategy is quite different. So we are thinking more bottom up. We're thinking, how can we enable citizens? How can we enable curious users, you could say? And how can we enable the broad segment of professional users? where a lot of the, at least lobbying AI companies we've seen out there, is more focusing on how can this sell like the 10 million euro lobbying solution to MasterCard or something like that. There's also other competitors, but like, so we are trying to actually make something that's relevant for the broad segment, pricing it also significantly lower than some of these ones, and then slowly building up from there rather than the other way around, because we believe that it's mission aligned, but actually also will get a better product over time. So.
Yeah, and then I think it's also important to say that, you know, yes, this is our first product, but we have other tools in development that are still supporting citizens in democracies, but are doing something completely different. So that's also important to be aware of here. This is not in any way a silver bullet meant to fix anything. This is you know, a piece of service or a piece of AI that can hopefully, together with a lot of other work out there, push in the right direction. Then there was that thing about general education. I think that's a good point. And I think it's one of those we haven't thought about it, to be honest. So I think what we will do is we will help people understand what is actually, you know, what is actually Parl 8 and how does it work. One of the things we're also discussing with the youth group here is that, you know, they do educational sessions for people in high schools. So what we're looking at, can we include, for example, explainers into what is, you know, so omnibus, right? You know, for many of us who've been following the sustainability agenda, you know, we know what it is. But if we go down on the street and ask the first person who walks by about omnibus, we cannot be completely sure that they get what we're talking about. So including sort of explanations of in the text that we're looking at. But I think it's like, you know, it could also, maybe it's another project, maybe it's something we could do with somebody else. I think for us, it's also, if you noticed our little drawing here, a collaboration with the wider community is going to be super important. We cannot, and also we also don't want to handle everything ourselves. So I think, you know, our dream, if we can be 5-10 people, this whole idea of, you know, of a pizza team, right? If we can all get fed by one very large pizza, then we are happy, and then we would rather collaborate with others on, for example, education.
Thank you. And finally, there's an idea from Alex Scales. Have you thought about integrating a kind of a find your local MEP by using, you know, for example, your postcode and inputting in the platform, and then you basically get an output that shows you, you know, what your local MEP, so to say, a regional MEP, has actually contributed, for example. So I think that's a nice idea to think about.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And that's exactly the kind of stuff, right? You know, how is it that we can make this engaging? And I think that is, you know, we need to make this relevant for the individual. And I think that's exactly like, okay, who's closest to me? Yeah, okay, this man or woman is actually the one representing your area. That, you know, I would find that interesting. So I think we will put that on the backlog. Yeah.
And Alex, with another point, is there a role for report an error feature that could provide a mission for the volunteer team to investigate?
You want so I think is it the error? We have an error button in terms of information. I'm not sure I understand it acronym. So can you see it, Kristian? I think it might be more into your alley.
It's in the chat.
Is there?
Yeah. So we have, in a lot of the AI generated things, we actually have like vote up, vote down buttons where you can comment if you like it or not. And of course, if you ever find something where you are finding something that's blatantly wrong in an AI generated thing, like we really want you to click that down vote button and let us know so we can fix it. because it is a product that we are continuously refining and making better. In terms of the broader community, because it's also a bit sensitive solution we're working on, we're kind of like, when we have volunteer developers, we keep them a bit close, but we have a broader community of people that just enjoy working with this content, educate, and also like test our solutions. So far the tools we have made for them is every single piece of content, or at least most pieces of content, you can give direct feedback to.
Yeah, up and down votes. Can you also write something, Kristian?
Yeah, and you can also write something. So what you don't like about it, and then that's a general bug thing.
And then there's the bottom up in the top with, is it a light bulb that you can push?
Yeah, that's more like if you have an idea for a feature, or if there's something that doesn't work, then that's what you do there.
Great. Well, it sounds like the Westminster Foundation for Democracy and DemAI should have a conversation in the next weeks. Thanks, Alex, for your ideas and contributions. We are at the end of tonight's webinar. So once again, thank you very much, Michael and Kristian, for presenting. Thanks everyone for the great contributions. Of course, I hope to see you all at the Political Tech Summit, 23rd to 24th January in Berlin. Just so you know, the early bird tickets will run out soon, so you still have got a couple of weeks left. Make sure you secure yours. It's going to be great. It's going to be a very good lineup. I can promise you we have some great names that we're going to announce soon, and a really great agenda shaping up. So hope to see you all there, or hope to see you also at another webinar in the coming weeks. Once again, thank you everyone for participating, and all the best and lots of success to you, Michael and Kristian. I think it's a great product, and I hope it's going to have a huge impact.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
All the best.
It was a pleasure.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.